You wanna rendezvous with the new girl in town. Y'all can send those likes, send those shares, send those likes and send those shares. Let's get this moving. Okay. Wonderful, wonderful. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Let's get likes going. Let's get sharing going. Thank you so much for everyone who came back right after that. Let's see if we can get a disagreeer on here. If you disagree with this statement up here, send a guest request. If you don't disagree, do not send a guest request. If you do disagree, do send a guest request. That would be great. Thank you so much for people sharing. Thank you so much for people sending likes. Both things help. Do I live in the UK? Yes, I do live in the UK. Yeah. If you're ever in Oxford, let me know. Yeah, anyway, thank you so much for people sharing. Thank you. Why haven't you fixed the spelling? Because I think it's funny. Free Palestinian children, Palestinian people, wonderful. Why haven't I fixed the spelling? Yeah, because I think it's quite funny. I think it's quite fun. Thank you so much. Okay, we got 250 people on here. What time is it here? I got, it's 12 o'clock right now. Am I advocating for a two-state solution? Two, then one. Two, then one. Two states, then one state. Free Israel from terrorism. Yep, I agree. That's why I don't want to support their largest terrorist group, the IDF. Thank you so much for people sending likes. We almost got 300 people on here. There's no way there's no one that disagrees. So if y'all can... It's the same as the UK because I'm in the UK, so that would be the typical expectation. Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on here. We got 300 people on here. If you disagree with this statement up here, send a guest request. That'd be great. No one disagrees. Do you think the ICJ stands a chance? Not really. Not if we look at those that are voting on the ICJ. That's not looking good. Why did I think you were American? Because I am American. I just live in the UK right now. Once again, if you've watched me for a while and want to support me, I have my Patreon on my bio, and I have my Discord in my bio if you want to join the community of people that watch me. It's very cool. I know, all of the Zionists are gone. I don't know what happened to them. Well, if you know a Zionist that you want to see me debate, share it with them, and I'd love to have them up. Do send a guest request if you disagree with me. Yeah. So, that's all I can say, really. Always white people chiming in on things that have nothing to do with them. I agree, actually. I think that's the main issue. I believe the main issue that caused primarily the Israeli-Palestine conflict is white people chiming in on issues that aren't relevant to them. Which is why I don't want America to continue the, long history of Western imperialism and Western interventionism. Western interventionism is what got us into this mess in the first place, obviously. I'm asking other white people to stop messing with the other places. I don't think people are understanding the point I'm making. America currently is intervening in the area. It only becomes bad intervention when we start saying, hey, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. I am white. That's why I'm telling other white people to stay out of it. Hence this. U.S. funding, right? A primarily white country and the center of white colonialism. Get out of it. Maybe you should look in the mirror. You're not getting the point. Hi, what'd you send a guest request to disagree on? I said America is primarily white and the center of white colonialism. Hi, what'd you send a guest request to disagree on? Yeah.
Fuck Palestine.
Okay. Well, send a guest request if you're slightly more articulate than that person. Hello.
Hello. Yeah, I won't cuss you out like that guy did.
Very cool, very cool. Well, what'd you send a guest request to disagree on?
Why do you want us to stop aiding our ally?
Because especially because they're our ally. Their actions reflect on us, and when they are committing atrocious acts, right, against the Palestinians, that means that we are committing atrocious acts against the Palestinians. So we should hold our ally to account for their actions and stop funding the despicable acts that they are committing against the Palestinians.
If you said if you can if you say that, then do you think we should have stopped how if we went back in time, do you think we should have aided our allies Great Britain when they were being attacked by the Germans?
How old are you?
I'm 29.
You're 29, wonderful. Should we have aided Great Britain when they were being attacked by...
When they were being bombed by the Germans, I can't say the name
Well,
of the
were
group.
were they committing a G-side?
Yeah, they were bombing the Germans were bombing women and children in cities like
No, were
London.
the British committing a G-side?
No. I mean, if you
Okay.
count their bombers bombing German cities at high numbers, then maybe, yeah.
What year were you born?
94.
You were born in 94. Does that add up, everyone? I think it does, yeah.
I mean, doesn't Israel have a right to defend itself?
Is it just a lisp? Yeah, okay.
Doesn't Israel
Um,
have a... Weren't they attacked?
Yeah, but not in the capacity that it is, right? So it doesn't have the right to continue to illegally occupy areas that that it is illegally
First of all, they
occupying.
are not illegally occupying Gaza. If you knew your history, you'd know that the Israeli military pulled out of Gaza, the Gaza
Well, a
Strip,
blockade is an illegal occupation.
their military pulled out
And in
of the Gaza
2012, they
Strip,
started
giving
illegally
control
occupying
of
it again.
Gaza to the Palestinians. If you knew your history, that was
Well,
after.
I also know that in 2012 they implemented a full military blockade on that area. A military blockade in international law is categorized as an occupation.
And if you knew your history, why is everyone going after the Jewish people, the Israeli people, saying they're occupying Gaza? Because if you knew your
You don't
history,
think sorry.
after the Arab-Israeli war, the Gaza Strip was occupied not by the Israelis but by the country of Egypt. They were
Just to be
occupied.
sorry,
The
it wasn't
Egyptians
occupied.
occupied the Gaza Strip with military force.
Well, so
And the
I would not
West
refer to
Bank
that as
was
an
after that
occupation.
same war. After that same war, the country of Jordan occupied the West Bank with military force.
Yeah, so
So
just to be
why is
sorry,
no one going after the Egyptians or the I don't know what to call them, the Jordan? I don't know what to call the people who live in Jordan. Jordanese, I don't know what to call them, but why isn't no one going after them? Why are they just going after the Jewish people?
you are a child, so I'm going to kick you and then I'll respond to that.
I'm not. I'm
Um,
29 years old, thank you.
I really couldn't tell, and I don't want my account to be taken down, but Jordanian is the term you're looking for. But also, they're not going after them now because they don't still occupy those territories. So, but also they didn't occupy them; they administered them. Slight difference. We can get into that slight difference, but it matters when we're talking about this discussion. Hello.
Okay, I accidentally pressed. I'm pro-Palestinian. Sorry, can you hear me, please?
Slay, no problem. Send a guest request if you disagree with me. There are 600 of you. Please, please, please. I would like to not talk to a child. Hello. Oh, wonderful. Okay, there's no one in this guest request that disagrees with me, please. If you disagree with me, send a guest request. If you don't disagree with me, don't send a guest request. Hello.
Yes, well, first off, why is this even a matter of discussion? Like,
Because
why?
Israel's currently committing one of the most widespread acts of violence that we've seen within the past year at least.
Well, don't you think that the country of Israel, granted its matter of state, has been one of the most peaceful, peacemaking countries in the over there in that region?
No.
Why not?
Because it's been illegally occupying area, which is a consistent act of war.
first off, cutting ties with Israel right now, when you have Gaza and all those other rising countries, just doesn't make sense to me as to why funding would be thrown out the window for
Because we don't want to be funding
country.
a genocide.
We're, you're, but you're hibernating genocide by not, well, by the U.S. not even giving in to even helping those. What does IDF mean?
Israeli Defense Force.
So basically, cut ties with both of those sides.
We don't
Militarism.
militarily support the age group.
The age group, as in what range are you specifying?
Okay. I'm really trying here, everyone. Hello.
Hello, what is it with you that you hate Israel and all I mean, you're not in the government, you're not nothing, you're just a little kid who's trying to take the piss out of everybody. So let's see what you've got to say. And you can record me, it doesn't bother me that you record me. You think I'm scared from you? You're just a kid, an idiot, talking about
Okay.
this.
Wonderful.
Have you-
Are we done with that?
Is that it? Yeah? No problem. See
Okay.
you in
Yeah,
America.
so let me respond. Oh,
Bye-bye.
okay. You don't
I'll
want
see
you
you.
don't
I'll
want to have
see
a
you.
discussion? Joseph?
A discussion with you? You're just a
Joseph?
nasty piece of work. You've got no brains whatsoever. You don't know anything about Israel. Have you been to Israel? Have you gone to see what's exactly happening? You can smile. You can smile and clap your
I can,
hands
Joseph.
and your
I can, I can
faces.
smile, and I love to smile, Joseph. I'd love to have a discussion with you, Joseph. If you'd be down to. And if you
If
don't
you're
think
going
I
to
know
act,
anything, I would love to
if you
hear
act,
your perspective.
if you
But
act, if you
Joseph,
act,
that starts with, if you're going to call me a child, that starts with you, acting like an adult. Can we do that, Joseph?
we can do that. We can do
Okay, then
that.
let's try and do that. So,
No,
how
but if
adults
you're going
act,
to
to my
behave, if
understanding, and forgive me if I'm just a child, how adults act generally is they are expected to, first of all, not interrupt,
well,
and
I've seen you on several lives cursing and
Joseph,
taking the piss
not
of other
insult.
people.
I've never
No, hold
come
on a
on here
second.
and insulted someone's age,
Well,
Joseph.
you have,
So
you have.
let's actually
And
try and
you
get
have.
into
Don't
this
lie. Don't
topic. Do
lie.
you know how old
I'll
I
tell
am,
you
Joseph?
when. Listen, if I want to know everything about you, it's very simple. It's not
Well,
very hard
you've made an
for
attack
people.
on my age. Do you know how old I am, Joseph?
How old are you?
You came on here and called me young, which I appreciate. I mean,
Well, I'm
Neutrogena does
saying
some good
you're
work,
young.
but
Like, listen, let me. No,
what
no,
is
no.
young? How old am
Don't.
I?
How old are you? I reckon you're
Yeah,
about 22, 23.
we'll go with that. Joseph, how old are you?
Me? It doesn't matter how old I am. I'm not here to give you my age. I'm here to tell you I saw you on some lives. I don't know what you want with Israel. What is it that you want from Israel? Why are you attacking? People have been
Can you read,
raped.
Joseph? No disrespect if you can.
I can read. I can read.
Okay,
I
so can
told
you read
you.
that for me?
No, I don't need to read that. I know what it says.
Okay,
You
so
don't
you
need
know
to
what I
make
want
me
from
read.
Israel then?
You want to stop all the funding.
Yeah, I don't want my tax dollars that I vote on, right?
Yeah. Oh, you work so hard, and
Well,
oh, how
Joseph, the
much
thing
money they're
is
taking from you.
all taxpayers, right? Actually, all voters, regardless of
Listen,
tax-paying status.
who
Let's
do you
just be
think
very
that
clear,
you
Joseph.
are?
Just
Who
because
do you
someone
think
makes
that
more money
you are
doesn't mean
can
that they.
stop the
No,
funds?
Joseph. So
Who do you think
this is
that
when you
you are
attack
to
me.
stop
This is when you
funds?
attack me for not making enough money. Good work. Because first of all, you don't know how much money I make. You don't know how many taxes I pay. But more importantly, that's a fundamentally classist idea. We're well beyond
You work with
feudalism.
the
We're
Yates
well beyond
Group. You
feudalism.
work
We
with the
don't pay with we
Palestinian.
don't vote
You're
with our dollars. We vote with our
pro-Palestinian. You don't let
votes. So
anybody
I have
talk.
just as much
Fuck
control and is
off.
just as. Do
Fuck
you
off.
believe that every vote matters, Joseph?
I believe that God will curse you very hard for what you're doing
Well,
today.
and I believe that Zeus will strike you down, brother. We'll see
Oh,
which one comes true first.
I
I
tell
wish
you
you the
what,
best of
I
luck.
hope to see you pretty soon.
It's always the same point. I wish I was a TikTok millionaire. That would be great. If someone could make me a TikTok millionaire, that would be lovely. Hello, Joe.
Hello.
Hi, can you hear me,
You
Joe?
support Hamas?
No.
So what Hamas did to Israel didn't affect you in any way?
I mean, other than a sympathetic way.
You don't get to backtrack on that. They killed Israelis. They killed
And what do you
Americans.
have to say about
You
Israel
support that.
killing...
You
I don't...
support that.
I'm
You
sorry, did someone forget
support
their
that.
lithium today?
You support
Joe, Joe,
that.
Joe, 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 Joe. Can we calm down for a
Israel,
second?
no. You
No, we can't
support
have a
that.
discussion, Joe?
You support that.
Okay, Joe. Guys, I don't know what's happening on my live today. I think End of Life Care got Wi-Fi finally. I think they finally found TikTok. Um, but let's try and get maybe some different wards Wi-Fi before we start giving them TikTok. But hello, Joe. I don't know where you get your news, right? I mean, my father gets, AARP, but I don't know if it mentioned Israel. So the thing is I don't support the actions of Hamas. I've said that multiple times. Do you have anything to say other than repeating yourself?
Then why are you hiding them?
Hiding who?
Exactly. Have a good day, coward.
Okay. Okay, everyone. Can someone... I don't... Of all the plugs that need to be pulled at hospice, the first should be the Ethernet. Hello.
Hello.
Hi,
Wow, I
what'd you
can't
send a
believe I
guest
got
request to
picked.
disagree on? Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I fundamentally disagree with you that there's a genocide occurring. Um,
Wonderful. Let's talk about it.
I think I see this as you know, in warfare, there are civilian casualties, and so if you have a border incursion of thousands of people going into another your neighbor, um, and you kill and
It
rape,
wasn't thousands of militants.
it was. I
I
don't
mean,
know where
it
you're
wasn't. The
hearing the
max
reporting.
reported
Okay,
were
how
up
many
to like
was it?
700 to 900 militants.
Okay, I'm sorry, 900, 1,000. It's still like,
Well, you said thousands.
okay, this is like we're arguing semantics. This is
It's
the
not semantics.
problem.
It's like basic facts. It's important to
It's
state that.
not.
No, it is. I think if you say something that's false, it's very
Okay,
important to
let's
not say
say
things
an
that are false.
attack on civilians. Doesn't matter how many
Okay.
people attacked.
Okay. Well, that's a
Okay,
different statement. Yeah.
it's not. But
The reason you said thousands matters, and the reason that now it's not thousands also matters.
okay, I'd like to hear where the reporting is coming from. How many exactly was it?
I mean, we don't have an exact number of militants. I've read the
Oh,
Reuters report, which estimated between 700 and 900 as of the day of. I haven't since followed up.
okay. So we don't know. So I don't know why we're arguing this if we both don't know.
Well, my point was I've never seen anything to substantiate your claim. But yeah, okay. So there was a border incursion.
And they targeted civilians and they killed hundreds. I mean, I personally know people who were taken hostage. Like this is, I just, it's a response. A military response is warranted. I'm not sure like what you wanted to happen after this in response. Did you want Israel to just let this go? I'm not sure what you wanted.
Wonderful. So, I mean, my understanding the conflict doesn't start on October 7th, and it certainly doesn't end on October 7th. Context is extraordinarily important when we're talking about reducing terrorist organization.
Agreed.
But when we're talking about G-side, specific actions I look towards are things that simply and obviously cannot be justified, right, in defensive actions. So when they claim it's a defensive war, right? They just want to secure their borders. There are some actions they simply cannot defend. For example, cutting off the Red Cross access to Gaza. There is zero defense for that, right? The accusations of them targeting reporters, right? They've been accusations in the West Bank, in southern Lebanon specifically, and in Gaza of them targeting reporters. That is obviously a war crime, and there is no excuse for that. There have been
I
consistent
I haven't
accusations
seen any. I haven't seen any accurate reporting that they're specifically targeting reporters. That there are reporters who have been killed in the conflict. I mean, there was that one report, quote unquote, reporter who was in the car with a Hamas drone operator the other day who was hit in an Israeli strike. I don't know. It seems like a lot of the reporting coming out both ways is very questionable, and to just
well, but we need to start
definitively,
somewhere, right? We can't just deny everything. So
I'm not
I'll tell
denying
you
it.
my sources, and then we can, if you can provide something better, then we can contest that fact. But
Okay.
we can't just start with nothing.
Yeah,
That
hit
can't
me.
be the
Where are the
way we
sources?
argue, right? We have to start with some facts, some understandings, even if they are flawed, right?
Yeah, and I would love to see
Okay,
these.
okay. So that's what's important. I'm aware all media is flawed, all reporting is flawed. The difficulty is one person provides sources, the other none, right? So let's start with what we do know, right?
Sure.
Which is there have been consistent accusations of them targeting reporters, right?
Yes.
That's a
Again,
despicable
accusations.
action. What?
Again, yes, I agree. There have been accusations. We can agree on
And
that point.
they've provided evidence for it, and it's been affirmed by the UN Tribunal prior in southern Lebanon.
I haven't seen any
So
evidence that they were particularly targeted, or more that they were caught in larger strikes.
so it hasn't been adjudicated yet in Gaza, but it has been adjudicated in southern Lebanon, and they were found guilty in southern Lebanon.
But I thought we were talking about Gaza.
Well, so I'm talking about general intentions of actions of genocide against the Palestinians. The
But the
Gaza offensive
The
being the
Lebanese are
newest of
not
the offensive against
Palestinians,
those.
right? Those are
So
two
it's the
different
same
places.
people.
It's the same people. How so?
Well, when you want to G-side of given peoples, you need to maintain military supremacy
Who,
across your
journalists? You're
territories.
talking about Lebanon.
So you know why the H group in Lebanon, Hezbollah, are fighting against Israel?
Is it a genocide?
Well, do you know why they're doing it?
Because they want the death of the Israeli state. This
Well,
goes
what's their
back all the way to
specific military? So
1948.
they can want in an abstract sense that, and they do in some sense. But do you know they're like specific who they're trying to help?
I'd love you to tell me.
The Palestinians.
And they've been doing that since, the Egyptians were trying to help the Palestinians. They're not anymore. Why do we think that is?
Can we stay on a point?
I'm trying to stay on a point, but you're talking about
Okay.
Lebanon. You're talking about like,
My point is I look at specific
are
actions
Lebanese
that are
journalists
indefensible.
Hezbollah?
Do you have a defense for them denying the Red Cross access to Gaza within the first 7 days?
I don't know. They could have come through Egypt. I don't know.
They couldn't have.
I haven't
The
seen
IDF
any. I haven't
troops
seen
blocked them
any.
in the Rafah crossing.
I'm sorry.
The IDF blocked them in the Rafah crossing. Do you have a defense for that?
I haven't seen any substantiated
Israel
reports.
itself said it did it.
Okay, Hamas blocked the Red Cross from accessing
I
the
don't doubt that
hostages.
Hamas is genocidal. You doubt that Israel's genocidal.
Okay. This is all right. No, please tell me what Hezbollah. Tell me about their founding. Tell me exactly what
No.
their.
I'm asking you. Do you have any justification for them denying the Red Cross access to Gaza within the first 7 days?
No.
Okay. Then if we have no justification, then that is prima facie a war crime, right?
Okay, but that's not.
So let's
But then
start
you're
from that
making
basis.
a
If
big
we see them
gymnast leap.
commit a war crime
You should be in the Olympics. It's a pretty big leap.
of someone denying access to the Red Cross and being a war crime,
No. We went war crime to genocide. This is
I
a
haven't
big
gotten
leap.
there
I mean,
yet.
that's a pretty serious accusation.
I mean, wait, I haven't gotten there yet.
All right, please get there. Go ahead.
I mean, did I say that merely committing a war crime was genocidal? Did I say that?
No, go ahead.
Did I make that leap?
Why don't you make it? You're like coming at me.
But
Why
did
don't
I
you
make that leap when
argument?
you said that was a big leap and then I hadn't made it yet?
Dude, this is not how you have like a civil debate. You come at
It isn't.
everybody.
When you
Like,
interrupt me and lie about what I said, that's also not
okay,
how you have an argument.
I'm listening. Please go ahead.
Okay, so how we do get to genocide as a fundamental goal is we see hundreds and hundreds, well, actually, we see hundreds of thousands of people getting injured, right? And thousands of people dying. We know that unequivocally. The exact numbers aren't ubiquitously reported, but we do know that hundreds of thousands of people being, injured, thousands of being killed, over 2 million, right, have been dispossessed and actively evacuated or moved. It's incredibly clear. So when we see those actions in civilians, which is not normal in war, right? We don't see these numbers in war, by and large. We need a justification for it. And the only justification for it either is a lack of intent, so we don't intend to engage in this ethnic cleansing, but it is just a matter of fact of what happens in war, or number two, some form of defense. It's justified on its basis. And I see neither of those. First of all, because Hamas leadership is within Qatar and Lebanon, and they aren't attacking Qatar. And secondarily, they've explicitly stated they're not interested in founding a two-state solution. Their original claim, which is that they're trying to refound Gaza to allow for a Palestinian state, was obviously facetious. So what's left there, right? What's left there is a mass unaliving of Palestinians, right, and a mass history of mistreatment of Palestinians across the West Bank and Gaza. That seems to read as reckless killing of people. And then we just impute intent upon there. The only reason that you would deny Red Cross access, the only reason that you would target schools or hospitals, right, and then not be able to justify it, which they haven't in the Indonesian case, the only reason you would kill journalists and UN workers in this area is so that you can get away with unaliving people because of their race and ethnicity. That's what happens. And they've done so in the West Bank, right? Mass unaliving, mass ethnic cleansing in the area. And they've obviously killed people. So they've hit them. They've hit the actus reus, killing, injuring, and dispossessing. And then they've hit the mens rea of intent to do so merely on the basis of their racial group.
Okay. I mean, you state what you believe to be fact. Again, a lot of the reporting coming out here, I don't know, it's hard to trust where it's coming from, right? You state what you think to be facts, and it makes your case. I can do the same thing. It's like we're just going to go back and forth forever. If we want a two-state solution, the problem is there is no government in Gaza that also wants a two-state solution. There's a disconnect here. So what do we do?
Do you have a response to like the actual argument I just made?
I mean, you made an argument. You haven't provided any sources of any of the.
I did. I
You know,
cited the UN and their reporting.
I would love to see the reporting. Where is the reporting?
Look up UN reporting on Gaza. I can give you specific headlines if you really are that needy, but I feel like you can find UN
I
reporting on
don't see.
Gaza.
That's the other thing. I don't trust the UN anymore after they've held
Okay,
hostages in
but
the
I don't.
houses
If
of
you have nothing, is the
UNRWA
thing
teachers.
is you said we can go back and forth on sources. Then let's go back and forth.
Okay, would you
That's.
like to see the interviews with people who freed hostages who were kept in the homes of UN teachers?
I don't doubt that the UN has its flaws and has its horrendous things. I don't doubt that the UN is not the best source in the world. What I do doubt is that you have a better one.
That I have a better what
Source.
source? I mean, what
Because
makes a source better?
as I said, this is the nihilism that
Oh my
happens.
God,
This is the
this is
nihilism
fucking
when you
ridiculous,
lose.
man.
Is you hear nihilism and you think that I'm going all Phil Pro. It literally just means like what happens is you actually can't make an argument. So instead, you just say that actually there's this infinite level of informational certainty that I need, right? And that's what happens when you don't present your argument of your own. Because if you had presented an argument, I could just say, hey, your sources have these flaws as well, and you would have no argument either. But you've presented no argument, so it puts you in a nil position. So the only way you can win is by saying, actually, you have nothing either. Well, actually, I did. I actually did give you sources. I actually did give you arguments. You just aren't willing to engage with them in any way, shape, or form. You just threw them off because they have some flaws. Well, everything has flaws. The only way that you can engage with them and beat them is by providing a less flawed argument, which you didn't do, right? So
You
if you want
understand that
to go,
you're taking the Ben Shapiro approach here, right? You're doing the same thing. You're just talking faster, and you're challenging people to debate. And when you talk faster, you claim victory.
I've given you the space to respond. If you don't understand what I'm
Right,
saying,
but
if you don't
you frame
understand
it
what
as
I'm
a
saying,
conversation. You frame it as a conversation. Then as soon as someone joins in, it's
I also am not talking that fast. I talk quite quickly on guests. Um, but I
No, no,
don't.
no.
I'm.
You talk quickly to sound smart.
But
I
I'm.
know
I'm.
you're not
I'm not talking
actually.
that quickly. Honestly.
This is fucking ridiculous, man.
My goodness. Well, he left, and appreciate the gifts. Thank you, Queens. Well, love you all. Depends what you mean by fast, my loves. But I've had plenty of good conversations across the board. So. Well. Wow. Once again, thank you, Hamza. Let's see if we can get a person who disagrees up here. Anyway. Hello.
Hello.
Hi,
Hi.
what'd you send a guest request to disagree on?
Oh, I wasn't disagreeing with you. I just wanted to cook all of the geriatric patients who keep popping into your live.
Hey, well, I
Um,
appreciate it, but I'm gonna try and find someone who disagrees.
okay. Okay.
So I appreciate it. Peace out.
Uh-huh.
Hi, what'd you send a guest request to disagree on?
Hi. Is it only for people that disagree?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm out.
Thank you, Queen. I'm astounded and I'm flushed. I'm filled with calculed lust. Thank you so much for the people that follow. We almost have this is the best viewership we've had in a very long time,
I
everyone.
also
If you can follow me, if you can follow my wonderful, thank you so much, Tessa. Peace out. If you can follow my, if you want to join my Discord, that's great. If you want to follow my YouTube, that's also really great. Thank you so much.
You fucking Earl. You fuck.
That I do. That I do. Anyway. That I do.
Have you been to Israel before?
Hi, Hannah. How old are you?
I'm 22.
You're 22. Wonderful. No, I haven't been to Israel, so I think they need to work a little harder to earn, my country's money.
What do you mean? You know that you can go on a flight to Israel.
I don't see why I would want to do that any more than I would have wanted to go to apartheid South Africa.
Well, if you had been to Israel, you know that it actually isn't segregated and that you'd actually be able
Did
to
I say
really
that it was
enjoy yourself
segregated?
there. Well, that's what apartheid means.
It's not what apartheid means.
Okay, and then why don't you tell me what it means?
So according to the Apartheid Convention, apartheid can refer to a series of any series of laws, social regulations, or societies that have regulations that separate or treat differently people primarily on the basis of race, similar to the way they did in apartheid South Africa, right? And many anti-apartheid leaders have referred to Israel as an apartheid state, and the UN recognized Israel as a apartheid state. Actually referred to them as apartheid state under that definition. So
Okay. Other than that, just overall, I'm curious that if anyone who is pro-Israel comes on this live and has information, if you're going to be willing to hear any of that, or if you're just going to disagree with all of it. Because I've been on this live a few times and I've listened to it, and I'm really astounded with how you treat people when you're trying to have an open conversation with them.
yeah, so if they're able to engage in an open two-way discussion, I've shown very clearly, right, across the 3 years that I've been on TikTok, basically, that I'm very willing to have a very long, open discussion, even if it does get boring to people. So if you actually have good arguments that function and are not just personal attacks, like I would class the thing that you opened up doing, then yeah, I'm happy to hear it. But unfortunately, the idea of personally saying, "Well, have you been to Israel?" That's a personal attack that has nothing to do with my arguments.
Wasn't a
And
personal
saying,
attack, rather a question. I
yeah,
mean,
but it's
I was
entirely irrelevant to the
curious.
point, isn't it?
Pardon?
It's entirely irrelevant to the arguments that were being made. It's like saying, "What's your age?" right? Or saying, "What do you know?" Like it's entirely irrelevant to the argument that's being made. And I think maybe the reason that you think I'm treating people poorly is because you don't recognize when others are treating me poorly.
Oh, I can recognize that. I believe I'm a very passionate, empathetic person.
Yeah, but you
And
didn't recognize that what you did was implicitly a personal attack.
okay, regardless, I don't want to like go over the rhetoric of our conversation. I just I wanted to come on here because I'm honestly just disappointed. I feel like I've been watching a lot of this in the commentary and the comments, and you really have opened up a platform for a lot of anti-Semitism to be spread, and it is extremely disappointing. And you can nod and you can smirk at me, but
It's
if
utter
you read the
nonsense.
comments, you'd be able to read these rude things. There are Israelis coming on here sharing their points of view, and there are people in the comments saying, well, why can't you speak English? Why aren't you clear enough? These people are, it's insane. It's crazy. And you can say that you're educating all these people, but at the end of the day, you're also like insanely creating, sorry, pardon, I'm just crazy overwhelmed. But just like you're creating a huge platform of anti-Semitism.
It's just not anti-Semitism.
It is,
It's just
Will.
not. Explain to me what I've done that has promoted anti-Semitism.
You're on this live talking about how the IDF are terrorists and
Yeah.
are Hamas,
And
and
I
they're
think them being
not.
terrorists is what has caused a huge amount of anti-Semitism in the world.
Can you say that again? I'm sorry, I'm getting
And I think
distracted.
them being terrorists has caused a huge amount of anti-Semitism in this world. I think the IDF going out and saying that they represent Jews in this world and they exist to protect Jews in this world, and then they go out and commit war crimes, I think that
War
causes a
crimes
lot
is
of
a
hate against
response
those
to
people. When a
what has
terrorist
happened
organization
October
like the
7th.
IDF commits horrible acts in the name of Jews, that is exponentially offensive to Jews and hurts them exponentially more, right, than critique of that terrorist organization ever will.
It's just crazy to me. Like
Explain to me what I'm doing that's anti-Semitic. Do you believe that all critiques of Israel are anti-Semitic?
No, I don't. I'm not saying
Okay,
that
but then what did I
you
do
are
other
being
than critique
anti-Semitic.
Israel?
I'm
What
sorry,
did I
but Will,
do
you're
other than
twisting my
critique
words.
Israel that you're classing as anti-Semitic?
No, Will, what I'm saying is that you have created this live that has caused where you only allow people to come on here to disagree with you, where you're like not having this open conversation about what people think, what other people believe, things like that. It's like
So
you're
having a
only
debate is
allowing people to come
anti-Semitic.
on here to disagree with you. So then all of these comments are like egging all of this on. It's crazy.
Are you suggesting that having a debate between two people that have different opinions is anti-Semitic?
No, I'm
Okay.
saying
What you've just said is that me hosting,
that's
because
what
that's what a
I'm.
debate is. Let's just be extremely clear. Having a debate includes not just two people who agree talking, or one person monologuing, or one person trauma dumping, right? That's just not the contents of a debate. The contents of a debate are two people, right, engaging in each other's arguments, right, genuinely. That's basically the qualification. And
Right, and
so the idea that I
engaging
have
in
an
these
adversarial,
arguments
the
is
idea that I'm having an adversarial debate, right, about this topic, somehow being anti-Semitic is utter nonsense. Adversarial debates is the foundation of all like basic intellectual development, right? Like
to be
it's the
honest,
Socratic
Will,
method.
it's
Are you suggesting the
impossible to
Socratic
debate
method
with
applied
you
to
when you
Israel is
won't listen to
anti-Semitic?
what anyone else has to say that differs from your opinion.
I mean, that's just not true. I have to listen to them at least in order to understand the points so that I can respond to them. I
Yeah, but
listen to
by
them, I
when
learn
you
from them, and I grow from them. But once again, you've suggested that I'm allowing for anti-Semitism, which I quite honestly I take personal offense to, right? By and large, because I would never want to hurt, the portions of my family that, were Jewish. I would never want to hurt my dear friends that are Jewish, the communities I grew up in and around, being like with them being Jewish. I would never want to hurt those people. And it's I would never want to see harm done to them. And when you tokenize anti-Semitism, it is harmful to them. Because let's talk about what genuinely does harm Jews is when Israel says that any critique of Israel is anti-Semitism. When they label anyone who disagrees with their actions as an anti-Semite, it means that when genuine, very real anti-Semitism happens in the world, it's overlooked because of all the lies and misrepresentation. It waters down what the word means. So if you're going to use that very powerful and very genuinely hurtful word, I'd hope you'd be able to explain to me what precisely I've done that has caused it.
I read these comments that say Israel is the scum of the earth, Jews are Hitler, etc., etc. I don't want to.
What did I do that caused them to say
I'm
that?
not saying that you said.
You said I created a anti-Semitic
yes, I'm saying
environment.
that by you having this live, you're creating a platform with all of these people commenting these horrible anti-Semitic things, and it just
Have you ever
furthers
been on the internet? Like,
yeah, I've been on the internet, and I see it
okay,
everywhere.
so when you're gonna, so unless you
I'm
want the whole
speaking
internet
out
to shut
against
down,
it.
unless you want the whole internet to shut down,
Like
right?
someone just commented, Hannah is Hitler. You
I'm
see
aware.
this?
Horrendous things are said across the internet. The only way a critique is going to matter, right, is if you can point me to my actions, right, the person creating this environment, that is making it somehow worse or more egregious. Because some discussions and some platforms have to exist. You would agree with that, Hannah, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when we do, the horrible things are going to be said in comment sections. The only thing we can be accountable for is when we're making, with these platforms making them more likely to say those horrendous things. You agree, right?
Yeah.
So so here's the issue, Ken. I agree this is a real issue. But coming up on here and critiquing me for the comments is only relevant if you can actually point me to why I'm worse than anyone else. And you can't. So it diminishes, right, that those points that we really do have that we need to use when genuine anti-Semitism happens. So unless you do have actually any critiques of what I'm doing, right, I'd appreciate if you didn't accuse me of that.
Okay. I feel like no point any pro-Israel or Zionist makes in this live is going to come across accepted by anyone. And it's a shame. It's totally a shame, but I'm willing to accept that. And I'm done. But thanks.
Okay, Hannah, if you're proud of that. Like,
I am proud of it.
I was
Will.
trying to have a discussion with you.
I know,
right?
and I'm trying to listen, but like it's so hard for me to when like you were just spewing all of this, like everything. I just can't. I don't have the energy, and I'm glad you do, but I don't today. So thanks.
Okay, then don't come up on here and critique me. Genuinely, if you don't have the
then
energy
don't
to justify
invite-
things,
then don't-
no, genuinely,
then don't
Hannah. Here's the
invite
thing.
me. Then
Genuinely,
don't invite me.
Hannah, the thing is, if you don't have the energy to justify things you say, don't say stupid things. Don't accuse me of being anti-Semitic, right?
Right back
if you
at
can't
you,
justify
Will.
it.
Right back
Well,
at you.
wait, no, I'm not the one signing off. I'm not the one.
I know
I'm not the
you're
one
not
giving up.
signing off.
If you
This is
don't,
literally
if you
ridiculous.
can't justify things you say, don't say them because that is horrendous. It's okay to have a
can
two-way discussion and be
justify
wrong.
everything
It's
I'm
okay to have a discussion and be
saying. I just
wrong.
don't
It's
want
not
to
okay
right
to
now.
accuse someone of doing anti-Semitic things and then fail to justify it because that
Will, I
means
told you what
every
is
single time
anti-Semitic.
you said that I had an environment that was sowing anti-Semitism, building anti-Semitism.
Yes, and
right?
you are.
And
but
fundamentally,
you're
if
saying
that the only time that that's relevant is if the only time it's relevant to speak to me about it is if I can do anything about it.
Yeah, and you can.
How?
You can change your rhetoric instead of
How?
saying
Wait.
that the
Okay.
IDF
How
are
can I change my
terrorists, you
rhetoric
can
to
look into
cause less
sources that aren't
anti-Semitism?
just Al Jazeera and the UN and learn more things.
So I don't just cite out. I've actually literally never cited Al Jazeera on this live. It's never.
Okay.
I don't think, Hannah. I don't think you've ever seen me cite Al Jazeera on
I've
this
honestly
live.
never seen you cite anything.
I cited the UN. You did. That's why.
Yeah, just the UN's all I hear.
I mean, I've cited Amnesty International, right? Human Rights Watch.
I don't need the bibliography right now. I don't need it.
But it means that, well, the thing is Hannah, is when you, once again, You don't just get to be apathetic when it helps you. So you don't just get, you can give up, that's fine. What I'm saying is you're a shitty person for doing that. When you throw out
I'm not giving up,
accusations,
and please do not call me a shitty person.
well,
You know
you
nothing
are.
about me.
You're a bad person if you make an accusation and then fail to justify it. You
Well,
make a
I
false
did justify
accusation
it.
and
You're
then
just not accepting what
you
my
claim
reasoning is
apathy. You
behind
claim
it.
apathy when you're like, look, you're an anti-Semite, and actually I don't have energy to justify it. That's disgusting.
No, Will, I literally told you what is going. I told you these comments, and you're like, I love you guys. You guys are amazing. Thanks for the support.
I think they know who I'm
That's
talking
you.
about.
I can't. I literally don't have the energy to
Okay,
do
then
this.
leave. That's
Okay,
fine.
I'm
I
leaving.
was
Then
just
please
stating my
stop
opinion on
talking
it,
to
and
me,
you
bro.
made it worse.
I didn't make it worse.
Then leave, Hannah.
I
If
just
you're
feel
not
like I
able to
can't get
engage
in
in
a
a critical
fucking word
discourse,
without you
leave.
hating everything
Hannah,
that
if
comes
you're
out of
not
my
able
mouth.
to engage in a critical discourse, just leave.
Critical discourse. Okay, bye.
You're a child. As I've said, and as I've said before, if you want to make a critique of me, come up here and do it. If you can't have an actual discussion about that critique, don't. I don't care that you have an opinion. I care that you have an argument. I don't really care what the argument is. I want to hear it. But I don't care that you have an opinion. I care that you have an argument. So if you want to come up and make a critique, make an argument. And if you want to come up here, critique me, and then not feel like you have any obligation to explain it, don't come on here. But just to be very clear, when I say thank you to all of you, I'm not saying thank you to the anti-Semites. If you say anything anti-Semitic, I don't support you and you can leave. And you should leave. And every one of my comments will tell you to leave. And my mods will block you. This is well known, right? I take personal offense to anti-Semitism, I take communal offense to anti-Semitism, and I take humanitarian offense to anti-Semitism. It's so obvious. But what I will say is thank you to those that do support me, thank you to those that are lovely, follow me up here, and thank you for the gifts. Love you all who aren't anti-Semitic. Hello. Oh, okay. Don't send a guest request if you don't agree with me. I am studying law, Queens. Also, do follow me up here. We have 1,700 people on here, which is absolutely incredible. If you can follow my YouTube, that would be awesome.
Can you hear me?
Hello. Would you send a guest request to disagree on?
I just wanted to ask you a few questions, I guess.
Yeah, how old are you, first of all?
I'm 21.
Wonderful. What'd you say? Yeah. What'd you want to ask?
Honestly, I just want to come up and say that I am Israeli, so I do have a lot to say, but just so you know, I really don't support the war. I don't want to be war. I don't want suffering for the Palestinian people. I really don't. I honestly want peace for both sides, even though the Palestinian people do not want me alive. I really do care for them, even though they really don't want me alive. I just had a debate with someone just literally today, and I sent them so much proof of like the education that the Palestinian kids get from like a really young age from school to hate Jewish people and kill them, or not only Jewish people but also Israeli people, Israeli
Are you
Arabs.
referring to the Gazans or the Palestinians as a whole?
I guess Gazans.
Huge distinction. Most Palestinians live outside of Gaza. You know that, right?
No, I'm referring to the ones that are being education in Gaza.
Okay, because it's really important that you don't mix up a whole entire ethnic and racial group, right, with very specific people that you're talking about.
Okay, you're right. Okay, I'm just referring to the Gazan people, mostly the children. Okay, like I really do support peace. It's just that they really don't want it. They really don't want peace. It's either
The
they have
children?
entire Israel or nothing.
The children?
Yeah,
Why do we
they
care what
or the
children
be
think about a complex geopolitical concept?
because that's what they taught them in schools, in
So are
TV.
you wait, but why are the children relevant to, like, once again, a complex geopolitical
It's
concept?
because I I hate seeing all these people saying like all these like I'm not trying to generalize like the whole Gazan people, but it's just that they grow up to end up being most of them terrorists.
Well, did you know,
And
as of a 2022 study conducted, I believe, by the Reuters or maybe Pew, they found that most Gazans had a preference for PA administration,
can you be more specific?
Palestinian Authority administration.
Okay.
The
It's not
Palestinian
like
Authority stands for a two-state solution currently.
yeah, it's just that they don't really want it. Like let me tell you something,
So
okay?
even the Palestinians, wait, sorry, even the Palestinians that say they do want a two-state solution actively work and basically cuck themselves for a two-state solution. Don't want it.
No, it's just I totally support the two-state solution. Okay, I really want to live with peace with them. I really do. But it's just that it's really difficult because I get to see all these protesters in Gaza, like even 20 years ago, with children. They hold their children, and there was like I think it was like a news reporter, an Israeli news reporter in Gaza, in one of these protests, and just there was like a dad and a child, and the dad said, "I'm gonna kidnap you with my son when he's older." And the
Wait,
news
so once
reporter was
again,
like,
let's try and get into kind of a substantive discussion.
"Okay,
I understand the anecdotes, and I respect that they're your personal experience.
hmm
But they're really not the topic of this live, with respect.
okay."
I
So
understand that you personally have seen a lot of rhetoric and a lot of propaganda regarding the Palestinian people. That's fine. But let's try and kind of put a critical thinking cap on here. Um, in general, is there anything special about the Palestinians that make them more likely to be violent or make them more likely to be terrorists? I don't think so.
it's
The
not.
biggest correlate that we have with violence and development of T groups is oppression and economic, disincentivization. So economic failure, poverty, by and large. So an impoverished peoples are a violent peoples. That's really well known. So it seems to me that the reason, by and large, that you would see extremist views within Gaza or within any given impoverished area is primarily because of the poverty. And the further demonization of Palestinians
But let me
doesn't
ask you
really
one
do
thing:
anything to
who's
solve that. It
responsible for
actually
the
serves to
poverty
hurt
in
that.
Gaza? Who's responsible for the poverty in Gaza?
Israel.
Israel. Israel's been funding Gaza for the last 75 years. What are you
As
talking
they're
about?
legally required to.
Why would they be legally required to?
Because they're an occupying force, at least until 2012.
Okay, so how many time has been since 2012? Like
12 years.
12 years. Okay, so let me tell you something. Right after the October 7th, like right after what happened, the entire state of Israel blamed our prime minister for funding these actions, actually, because we've been funding them, we've been giving them a port, and instead of using that money for the Palestinian people, Hamas used it to create genocide, trying to create genocide in Israel. Obviously, they failed because they're not a very strong force against the IDF and the entire Israeli state. But let me tell you something, okay? Gaza has been received funds from the entire world. The Hamas leaders are one of the richest people in the world. The fact that they don't give money to their own people, that's not Israel's fault, honestly.
Well,
They've been
so the
given so many
question,
funds and
sorry,
the
the thing
innocent
is this point
civilians
of
weren't getting
analysis
it.
is
That was not Israel's fault. It's not our responsibility.
it actually is. So actually, as an occupying power, it is your responsibility to ensure that the civil rights of the people under that occupation are respected, right? In much the same way that it would be the U.S. government's responsibility if a Floridian separatist group started subjugating Florida. It is your responsibility. It is your responsibility to maintain the security of the Gazan citizens when you decided to occupy it. It is your responsibility to make sure that Gazans were fed, right? That is your responsibility as an occupying power. Just to be extraordinarily clear under international law, Israel cannot wipe its hands clean while continuing to economically embargo the area. Let's just be very honest.
But we're
So
not
it
using
is.
we're not using the economy in Gaza. We're not taking their money. We're actually giving them money. But let me tell you, I want to ask
You
you
don't know what? Do
something.
you know what an economic embargo is?
And I don't think so.
Okay, so it's when Israel has complete control over all trade that goes in and out of Gaza, which has been true at least since 2012. Okay, so air, land, and sea are regulated and controlled by Israel. Under international law, that qualifies them as a occupying body. When you are an occupying body, you have obligations to those civilians in much a similar way you would have an obligation to your own civilians. So when you say that's not Israel's fault, that's not Israel's problem, actually it is.
Well, if we're not able to maintain the security of the Israeli people when these kind of things happen, obviously I don't really support the Israeli government as most Israelis do. We do not support them. Most of them are extremists, either corrupt people. Most of us really don't support them.
What I will say is I didn't know Hamza was in here. Thank you, Hamza. Very cool guy. Has he mutualed me? No. Hamza, if you're in here still, you should follow me, Queen. Okay. Seems like a cool guy. Oh, I've seen this video, the Hamas counter. Anyway, yeah, go follow Hamza. I've seen him. He's really cool. Also, roughly similar age. We could do some good work together. Anyway. Hello? Are you there? Are you there to the guest? Guest? Are you there? Okay. Okay. We'll give you a second, love.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Oh, yep. Okay. Wow.
Oh,
Hi.
okay. So I was saying most of us really don't support the Israeli government, so we're not very supportive of their actions. But I do want to say something about like the thing that you write behind of you. Why should the US stop funding the IDF? So Hamas's manifesto also says that it wants to wipe out America as well as the entire Jewish people. So actually, we're kind of doing you a
Actually,
favor
as of
by trying to stop
2017, it
Hamas.
doesn't say that about the Jewish people.
Okay. So do you think that just like because it happened 7 years ago that the entire a majority of the people in Gaza just stopped thinking that they should wipe out Jews? Really? That's kind of
Well, no, I didn't. It just means that the thing that you said wasn't true.
okay. But logically, you would believe that most of them still think that the Jewish people should be wiped out because that's not like a common thing that
Well,
just
to moderate your
people
statement,
forget
as it
about.
should be, do I think there's still deeply rooted anti-Semitism in Hamas? Yes.
Okay, so what I was trying to say is that they have other plans for the rest of the world, and that's actually kind of a thing that we do also for the rest of the world of trying to wipe out this terrorist organization. You can't call this another name. These are terrorists. The things that they did to Israeli civilians on October 7th are unspeakable. And people, like, I've had so many debates
I
where
have no
people
doubt.
said to
Once
me,
again, I'm just going to cut you off when you get into experiences because I have no doubt that atrocities happened on October 7th. We can agree. Atrocities
okay,
happened on October 7th, and we can agree that the H group is not good. I'm aware, and I agree. We forget that there are, multiple factions of militants within Gaza, just to be very clear, right? Like the defense within Gaza is a coalition of up to 11 factions specifically, across different ideologies. There is a diversity of opinion amongst Arabs across the world, and there's a diversity of opinion amongst Palestinians. So to suggest that somehow giving autonomy to the Palestinians would immediately mean that only the most extremist militant group that currently runs the Palestinians would mean that they now have power is nonsense. That's not what we see, right? When we looked at past resistance groups, only the most extremist and militant ones were the one that were militant. But later on, when it stabilized, right, you didn't need to be extremist and militant to have a voice, and therefore those that weren't extremist and militant had a voice. It's what happened in Ireland. It's what happened in Algeria. It's what happened in South Africa. It's what happened across the world.
Okay, but just correct me if I'm mistaken, but wasn't Hamas elected by the Palestinian people in Gaza?
By a minority of people that don't live there anymore.
Okay, you might be right, but either way,
It was
the war
44%,
that's
if I remember
happening,
correctly.
you might be more accurate than me. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm not gonna argue with you. You probably know about like the legal stuff and the exact years and stuff a lot more than me. But I'll just say that this war, Israel did not start it, like physically start it.
It
We
did
didn't
physically
start.
start it.
Yeah. When?
When it decided to continue illegally occupying the areas
How
of,
did we illegally
Palestine.
occupy this land? We literally got it from the British Mandate.
I mean, you didn't. So first, just to go back in history just a little bit, you didn't get it from the British Mandate. You got it from the Partition Plan. That's a UN, not British instrument. And secondarily, that doesn't include specifically the things that were attacked on October 7th. Actually, those were added to your territory following the Independence War and then further expanded following 1967,
But who
especially following
started the independent war?
Wait, so
Who
the
started?
thing is taking territory in war is inadmissible in a court of justice. So it is the fact that you took the land in war that makes the claim to land unjustified. Okay? So when you have claimed land by merit of taking it in war, you are illegally occupying it. Okay? So you have taken the land outside of what is currently understood to be Gaza, following either the 1948 war or the 1967 war, depending on which specific parcel of land you're looking at. And you've continued to occupy it and move civilians into it. That is a war crime, and that is illegal occupation. It's unequivocal. You can say it's justified, you can say it's acceptable, but it's unequivocally a war crime, and it's unequivocally a start to a war.
You're luckily talking to a one person that can actually say that I honestly don't know what's going on, and like I might accept the fact that there might be happening war crimes right now. Like most of Israelis, when you talk to them, will like fully deny it. I'm really trying to keep an open mind to all parties and try to discuss and educate myself. Even though I'm like Israeli and I live right here, I live this stuff. But as I was saying, after what happened on October 7th, did you really think that Israel is just going to do nothing?
I love this talking point. After October 6th, did you expect the Palestinians to do nothing? October 5th, 4th, 3rd? Palestinians
Well,
have been
yeah,
dying
because
for the
we've been
past
funding
decade
them.
of malnutrition and preventable illnesses within Gaza due to the illegal blockade. If somehow acts of war justify violations of international law, like we're seeing in Gaza currently, then you must apply that same logic to Gazans. You must. But I don't accept that logic. I don't accept that wartime allows for no rules to happen. Okay? So
I think that
when they
peace can
engage in a
be
war, they
achieved
need to
in a
follow the
much more
rules of
peaceful
war.
way
And if they want
without
to justify their actions,
inhumane crimes. Listen,
what?
you really can't say that. Like it almost sounds like you're justifying what happened on October
No, what
7th.
I'm saying is you
Honestly,
are.
Me, I'm
Yes,
not justifying it.
you are. So wait, let's just try and put it in the most general terms. Excuse me when I say this. Unless you are racist, you are justifying the actions of October 7th. Because when you say, look at these atrocious actions that, Hamas committed against Israeli citizens, don't you think that we could expect Israel to react in the way that it did? You are justifying the actions that Israel took in response.
Okay, you know
And then
why?
you're
You know
justifying,
why?
sorry, and just to be really clear and make this really, really direct, you're justifying specifically the war crimes that Israel has been taking. If you say, well, don't you expect them to be doing anything in the context of us discussing war crimes, you're justifying the war crimes happening, at least implicitly. And when you do that for one group of people, you have to do that for the other group of people. So if you think that it's acceptable to commit, you think the law should apply differently to different people?
No. Let me explain what I'm trying to say. I'm kind of shocked of the things you say right now because when Israel enters Gaza, they don't behead babies. They don't rape dead bodies of innocent women. We don't do that. Hamas did it. He did it and they recorded it and they showed it to the world.
Actually, weaponization of SA has been documented amongst the IDF.
Okay, sure. Anyways.
Well, it means that the claim that you said was wrong.
No, how can you even took these two things and equivalent that's not the same. What Israel does inside of Gaza.
I didn't say they were the same.
Okay, but you did.
I didn't. I mean, I didn't.
You said that we need to apply to both group of people.
I mean, the conclusions are the same, but it doesn't mean that the original justification
is the same. And let me
specify
what I was trying to say. I was trying to say that after the inhumane stuff that Hamas did in Israel, the logical thing is that Israel tried to stop Hamas and kill most of its leaders so that thing won't happen again because they said this thing might happen again. They wanted to do it again. And if you want to achieve peace for your own people and stop another 150 hostages being taken and massacre of 1,200 people, then that's what they need to do. They need to go into Gaza and they need to kill Hamas leaders. And when they do that, they also keep you safe. You're the one that's probably... Are you living in America?
I live in the UK.
In the UK. They can come to you, they'll get to you too if we don't stop them. What do you think will happen? They can wipe Israel off the map and they'll just continue to the rest of the world. Do you think?
I actually think that Israel is making America less safe.
Israel is making America less safe? How are we even related to that?
By increasing belligerency among certain Arab groups against the West and Western intervention in the exact same way that our intervention within Afghanistan made us less safe.
We are not responsible for acts of terrorism by other groups. The responsible ones
then
are
Hamas
the
isn't
terrorists.
responsible for acts of terrorism of the IDF.
Can you repeat that?
If you are not responsible for reactions to your actions, then Hamas is not responsible for the acts of terror of the IDF.
Listen, Hamas is responsible
exactly.
for
The second it applies to brown people, it applies.
Humanity.
Crazy how that works.
Have you even watched?
Crazy how that works.
Have you watched the movie of the horror that happened in Israel?
I don't think you understand the argument I just made. You are wrong because if you applied it to both sides, you would disagree with it. Do you understand that structure of argument? Just really simple rhetorical thing. Do you understand that structure of argument? The argument that there's basically a structure of argument, which is you are wrong because if you apply the logic that you're saying to this group, you wouldn't apply it. Therefore, it's false to this group, right? It's called a reductio. So what I'm saying is you are wrong because if you applied your logic to Palestinians, you would disagree.
No, I'll tell you what I mean. When a group of people is actually committing terrorism,
like the IDF,
the responsible, like the IDF, are you calling the IDF terrorists?
Yes.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. Have you ever met an IDF soldier?
I've spoken to probably 20 IDF soldiers, yeah.
Yeah, but which ones were they? From which units?
I mean, I don't think they gave me their unit number because they might get fired speaking on TikTok Live. Lol.
And what did they tell you?
I mean, they told me some of the dumbest ish I've ever heard, right? First of all, most of them had American accents, which was hilarious. Most of them were converted Jews, which is also really funny when they're claiming indigeneity. And the vast majority of them said that, number one, the IDF exists to help Palestinians, which is laughable again.
How is that laughable?
So this is what I'm going to say. If you want to see my discussions, if you want to see my discussions with...
Elderly
if you want to see my
women?
discussions with IDF members, go on my YouTube. It's linked in my bio.
Okay, sure.
And I have
I'll
hours and hours and hours of discussing with IDF members, if that's the proof that you want to see. It was really interesting because, once again, they were some of the dumbest people I have ever spoken to.
You know what? You're probably right. You're probably right. I've been to the IDF. You know, it's mandatory. I've spoken in the IDF to some of the most, like, the dumbest people alive. I know. I'm not claiming that they're all, like, you know, prodigies. I'm not saying that. it's mandatory. Everyone has to do their service. I did my service. You think I'm a monster? You don't even know what I did in my service. You probably wouldn't even guess what I did.
I also don't care.
Yeah, you should care, because everyone sees the IDF as like one war force of terrorists.
I'm aware that military has multiple purposes.
You know what I did?
You don't think I know that IDF service can also be done domestically?
Yeah, sure. I was a welfare. I was a welfare
I'm aware
officer.
of this. They have this. Do you think it's a new concept?
No, I'm not saying
Okay,
it's
because
a
the
new concept.
Austrians and the Swiss do the exact same thing. So do the Americans.
Yeah, I'm not
Conscientious
saying it's a new
objectors can
concept.
become
It's just
nurses
that
and advisors and whatnot. Duh. I mean,
no,
I come
it's
from
just
a
that
military family. Do you think I really don't know what a military looks like?
Basically, just because I did my mandatory service.
I didn't say anything about you.
Oh yeah, we did. You said about the IDF soldiers.
They're terrorists,
I was
yeah.
an IDF soldier.
So is the U.S. military.
What, terrorists?
Yeah.
How do you define terrorists?
I'll provide the definition of to you.
No, how do you define it? I
In
know
the same way that my
definition.
alma mater, Oxford Languages, does. The unlawful use of violence and intimidation, especially against civilians in pursuit of political aims.
Okay, so who's saying is more political, the IDF rather than Hamas?
Wait, so they can both be terrorist organizations?
It's like you're probably saying that ISIS and the IDF stand in the same category. Do you still support that?
In the way that, like, things can stand in the same category. Just to be very clear, things can stand in the same category without being the same thing. That's what a category is. It's a grouping of similar but not same things. So in being terrorists, yeah, they do stand in the same category.
Let me tell you something. If Israel didn't have the IDF, all of the Jewish people would be wiped out.
I mean, that's just not true.
How is that not true?
I mean, well, first of all, Jewish people lived there prior to the IDF existing. Second of all, there are Jewish people outside of Israel.
Yeah. Did you forget what happened before that? Should I remind you what happened before that?
What, in Ottoman Palestine? To
No,
the Jews?
in the entire world, maybe?
But the IDF wouldn't prevent that in Germany.
No, they wouldn't, but they did. They
So the
prevented
IDF
so many
existing
other
in
things
Israel has
happening
nothing
in
to do
Israel.
with them. Also, they exist in places that didn't happen, right? Like, there's a huge Jewish population in America, BT dubs.
Yeah,
Actually,
what about the Jewish
now,
population
as of
in
October 7th, safest place in the
Europe?
world for Jews. So, just saying. It just means that, once again, this is where, like, when I'm disagreeing with you, I'm not always disagreeing with the spirit of what you say. I'm sometimes just disagreeing with the things that you say. It is not true that if the IDF did not exist, all Jews would cease to exist. That is just
I'm not.
simply.
You know what? Okay.
That is just.
Let me correct myself,
I
because it's
agree with
very
your
hard to
spirit, which is that if the
ethnically cleanse
IDF
an
ceased to
entire
exist, a lot
population.
of Jews would die. That I agree with that, but it means that the words that you say matter. And I'd appreciate if you made the words that you say true. It's a really simple concept that I feel like I have to explain to a lot of people. Is oftentimes you get offended or you get defensive when I say, well, that's not quite true, right? When I'm actually just saying, look, this is the correct thing, and the thing that you said is just actually not correct. So it's
No, you
just
want
not
to say
true.
what
Also,
know
if
why
the
I get
IDF ceased to
offended?
exist
It's
and
because
instead the
you're
PA came into power, the PA has stated multiple times that they want a multi-ethnic, multinational Congress in the area. So, and actually under the Arab Congress prior to the partition in 1948, the Arab Congress actually advocated for a one-state, multi-ethnic, multinational state. So actually, the intentions of the Palestinians, at least prior to strong Western intervention, was to respect the Jews because they've been living with them for the past 1,000 years.
Okay, so now I will say what I was trying to say. I get offended because you somehow think that my friends, I have friends in the IDF, the ones that are
Apologies.
probably
It's deeply unfortunate.
the reason that I'm still alive. Okay, most of them, like I think I've known so far 4 of my friends that died in this war. Obviously, I don't want this war. I don't want my friends to keep dying. I don't want innocent civilians in Gaza to keep dying. I don't want this stuff. That's what most people think about Israelis. They think that we celebrate the death of Palestinians. We
Well, some of you
don't.
do, but I don't think all of you do.
Well, obviously, some of us will. I don't agree with them. I don't see
Okay, cool.
myself.
Then we're not wrong. Okay, engage with the things that I said.
I'm
Don't
trying.
engage with the spirit of things that I said. Engage with the actual things that I said.
Okay, so
Do you
I'll
see how
engage
this?
you.
Do you see how this works both ways? Like the reason I correct the words that you say is because I want you to engage with the words that I say, not the vibes,
Okay,
not the
sure,
expectations, not the assumptions.
sure. You know what? I have a question for you. How do you feel about the fact that the things that you say right now and the spirit of the things that you say right now are full of like all of the comments in here that I'm seeing, calling to burn Israel down, to wipe it, to they actually say that Hamas and that IDF and ISIS are the same thing. How do you feel about that? You have some sort of responsibility for making people furious like that at Israel.
People should be furious at Israel.
Yeah, in that sense of calling to burn down Israel and to wipe it.
How they channel their anger, right? I can only lead in what I say. I have my positions are well articulated and well repeated. Doesn't include the burning of Israel. So if I'm responsible for someone disagreeing with me, I don't see how that can be true. I've explicitly stated what my solutions are, right? I've explicitly stated where and how to direct their anger. If they disagree with me, I can't conceivably be responsible for the way that people disagree with me.
It's just you're not really answering my question. But anyway, you
No,
want me
I'm
to respond
answering it and
exactly
saying
to
you're
what you said?
wrong. You're wrong. I'm not responsible for people disagreeing with me. I'm responsible for people agreeing with me and misinterpreting things that I say. And that's
Yeah,
why I
that's
try
what
and be that's why I
that
try and
was
be extremely precise in what I say and repeat it many, many times so it is understood. Okay? But if someone disagrees with me and says, no, we need to do blank and blank. No, we need to do blank and blank. And I say, no, we don't. Right? I'm not responsible for them disagreeing with me. That can't be true.
No, I was referring to what you said, like the second thing, that the extremists can take your things like the wrong way and saying a really bad stuff. But
Well, if
you
they
know what?
misunderstand me, then I'm responsible for them misunderstanding me. But that's not what's happening. I don't think anyone misunderstands the positions that I hold. And if they do, I think they have to be either deaf or blind.
But do you even read the comments? Do you see?
I don't think they're misunderstanding me. I think they're disagreeing with me. There are lots of people on here that disagree with me.
Okay, sure. Anyways, I'll just come back to the one thing I wanted to reply to, and then I'm gonna go because it's like 3 a.m. right now. I need to go to sleep. But I just find it really disturbing that somehow the actions of Hamas is not condemned in here. Like
I
it
condemned
almost,
Hamas multiple times.
yeah, not in front of me. It sounds like you're just comparing them to Israel's IDF, which is like clearly not
I
the
can
same
condemn
thing.
both.
But you can't condemn both and not speak enough for the unspeakable things that they did. Why can't you just like really I don't know why you people refuse to own and say how horrible things that they
They're horrible.
did.
I
Yeah,
literally said that they were horrible.
yeah, and that's it. And that's
What did
it.
I say? What? Wait, sorry. Did I say anything beyond that about the IDF?
Yeah.
Like what?
You said okay, so you actually compared it to a terrorist organization, which is
Which I
that
also called Hamas.
okay, but you shouldn't be
So what
because
did I go beyond?
defense
Sorry.
forces
So I called the actions of
that
Hamas
activate
horrible.
only
What
when
did
a
I say
war
about Israel
starts
that sorry,
is
what did I
not
say about the IDF that I didn't say about Hamas?
I don't know how to answer that to you. You can think I'm
Nothing.
stupid.
You don't know
I
how to answer it
honestly
because
don't
nothing.
care.
I didn't say anything.
Yeah, but you know what?
Thank you,
It's just
Carrie.
okay. Listen, I'm really feeling like I'm talking to a wall right now. You can probably think that you know a lot more than me
I
because
do.
you know. Well, that's the ignorance that I'm finding like difficult to handle with.
Okay. Find it difficult. Find it difficult.
That's why I'm trying to talk to you. I was kind of hoping you would be open to hear other
I
stuff,
am
but I
open.
guess no, you're not. You're
I
not.
am.
How?
You haven't
Yeah, okay.
provided
You
any
can say
argument.
that to yourself. You can say that to yourself. You can keep saying that to yourself. It's okay. It's your live, it's not mine.
Once again, if we want to make this personal, you're free to make it personal while you're speaking to a wall. But if you want to actually engage with the arguments that I've made and try and show that I'm not open, that's fine. Or you can leave.
Yeah, I'll probably leave very soon.
Okay, bye-bye, bye-bye, bye-bye. You can go yell at a wall about me and me not being open.
Why are
Enjoy
you
that.
being so hostile to me? I was really
Once again, because
so
you
calm.
switch I've experienced this way too many times. Is
Experience
whenever
what?
y'all lose an argument or are unable to engage with an argument or feel like you've been slighted or wronged in some way, instead of trying to actually understand the argument that I'm
I
making, right?
literally
Or
said
instead
that
of
you
actually
probably
trying
know
to
more about
articulate your
me, and I'm
position
not trying to
better,
argue with
you
you.
start positioning to how I should run my platform. You had
No,
no
that was
issue with
not
how
what
I ran my platform first when you engaged with me, but following you being debunked, you did. It's disingenuous and it's unhelpful and it's not what this platform's for. If you don't think I run it correctly, that's fine. Send me a DM. You're fine. And if you think I'm too intelligent, you're probably right, brother. But it's not going to be very productive. So if you really need to get it out, can I suggest a stress ball? But much love to those that deserve it. Bye-bye. Once again, thank you so much for the gifts, everyone. Incredible amount of people. Thank you so much to the 1.8 thousand people on here. That is absolutely incredible. If you don't already, do go follow my YouTube because TikTok likes to take down pro-Palestinian people. They really like to take down pro-Palestinian people, so please do go follow my YouTube. That would be lovely. I really, really appreciate it. If you don't follow me already, do follow me up here. Thank you so much to the people sending gifts, and thank you so much to the people sending guest requests to come on and debate. Love, love, and love again. If you disagree with me, send a guest request. If you don't disagree with me, don't send a guest request. If you don't disagree with me, don't send a guest request. Do you understand the rules? The YouTube is linked in my bio. Everything is linked in my bio, which I love. Hi, Noah. What'd you send a guest request to disagree with?
Oh, I got picked. No way. Do you think we should have foreign policy?
Do you think America should have foreign policy? Yes.
Are you You're not an isolationist, right?
I'm not an isolationist.
Okay. So you're choosing Israel in particular to withdraw funding from, correct?
I'm talking specifically about our policy regarding Israel.
Do you support Joe Biden's unfreezing of assets to Iran?
I think it's an incredibly complicated topic, right, as to what they diplomatically should have done. Can you point to me how it's relevant?
Well, okay. I just want to see if you're not one-sided. I mean, because I think that's what led to this whole thing in the first place. So, as of the current, attack and response, that's like I think it has to do with Iran. Anyways, what do I disagree with? I mean, can I hear some of your points?
Mainly that point, brother. Mainly because I don't want America to be supporting a genocide by Israel. I don't think we should be supporting a despicable colonial state and expanding our imperialist wings. I think our diplomacy should by and large be cooperative rather than imperial and controlling. And I would like to see a mass, return to America of American troops. So I'm somewhat isolationist, but not quite in a dogmatic and ideological way, more so in a practical way of us being the imperial core. I also don't really believe in the concept of nation state, which we can kind of get into. By and large, I don't think we should specifically be supporting Israel due to its genocidal tendencies.
Okay. So, I mean, given Israel's history, like morals aside, I mean, anyone can recognize they've done some pretty incredible stuff. I mean, just as their economy, as the things they've invented.
I don't think it's that incredible.
I think it is. I mean,
we saw it in South Korea, we saw it in Japan, we saw it in Taiwan. U.S. proxy states that have billions and billions of dollars of global funding and capital pretty typically are centers of some form of trade. I mean, Taiwan's the center for chip production in the world.
They didn't have the U.S. in the first Arab-Israeli war, and they shit on them. I mean, here's my thing. It's just the Palestinian cause at this point is embarrassing. I mean, you start so many wars and you lose them all. It's like, at what point do you change your
I
mind?
don't think they started most of those wars.
Well, there's more context, but based on who technically started them, I mean, other than 67, Palestinians or Arab nations have started them all.
That's not. I mean, if we're counting this one, absolutely not.
You don't think the current war on October 7th was, you think it was started by Israel?
No, according to international law, Israel's illegal occupation is an act of war.
Like, just brother, be rational. Like, I get your.
I mean, I'm just citing to you international law.
All right. Well,
do you not
okay.
think? How do we define law? How do we define like who started a war other than in reference?
You know I don't care about international law, because we have two sides, Israel and H group. Both of them are breaking international law, and nobody's enforcing it. So who gives a shit? Like, honestly, both sides are committing.
I mean, it matters. So okay, what?
Like,
how do you tell who started a war?
I guess who escalated this conflict. I mean,
who escalated it? So as long as one group was just repeatedly, consistently violating the other one's rights, they're not escalating. They're just maintaining a sedentary amount of rights violations. That's not an act of war?
I think of it like this. Israel's not... I mean, you can say they occupy Gaza. I mean, the only part of the occupation... The only part that would clarify it's not an occupation is like the military presence within Gaza, but I'll give it to you if you want to say it's an occupation. I'm not going to like fight you.
Yeah, an occupation is violence.
Yeah, okay. But
violence, if you commit violence against a peoples and a state, then that is an act of war, unequivocally.
A war is declared when, the security of the Israeli citizens is compromised, and Israel feels the need that they
Why not the security of Palestinian citizens is compromised?
Well, because unfortunately, that's the job of their government who they elected.
A war has existed since the security has been violated, at least since 2012, but in a consistent state for the past 75 years. There's no real line of demarcation between points of war.
Do you think do I have to say H group?
You can say H group.
Do you think they do a good job of protecting their civilians? Or
no. But I certainly don't think the IDF has an intent to respect the civilians' rights either. This isn't. I don't support the H group, right?
No,
but the confusing part to me. Can I guess the confusing part to me is
Can I guess what your opinion is?
Sure.
Is your opinion that these are all terrorist groups, but it's all the U.S.'s fault because of the expansion in the East? Is that like your opinion?
I don't think it's all the U.S.'s fault.
Well, because I hear this common like leftist talking point.
Okay, it's not mine.
Everything is America's fault. Oh my God. Oh wow, they elect terrorists. It's the U.S.'s fault because they want some oil once. It's like, I mean, you can't blame everything on the U.S. or Israel.
Well, I mean, if we go through the Middle East, it's actually pretty solid analysis. It's not ubiquitously true, but like Iran's leadership only exists as it does because of American intervention. Saudi leadership only exists because of American intervention. Jordanian leadership in Qatar and Bahrain and the UAE. Oman and Yemen might be the only exception, but how are they doing? Iraq's leadership only exists because of America. Afghanistan on both sides exist only because of America. So it's difficult to see an exception to that rule.
Yeah, I think there's I think there's a lot more nuance to it. I mean,
there is a lot of nuance, but it's unequivocal that if American interventionism hadn't happened, right? For example, we wouldn't have seen the rise of a militant religious power within Iran, right? The stability of the secular state in Iran at the time was such that without Western intervention and with consistent funding from Iran's natural resources, they would have been able to defend against extremist groups like that. Any amount of material analysis would show you that. So, I mean, the nuance is relevant, but it doesn't ubiquitously go to your side.
When Iran was like a democracy or so-called.
I mean, it was more of a democracy than it is now, but also, anyway. The point is it's pretty good analysis by and large, but I mean, specifically having to do with, the Lebanon might be an exception to that because it's not American backed. That was set up by the French, a little different. But I guess you could camp me in the general anti-colonial and anti-imperial arms. But I think when you scoff off, right, complicated analysis of imperialism and consequences of imperialism, you fail to recognize that like a lot of the nuances that you would bring up can also just fall into this general structure. So I'd love to hear the nuances if you want to make that argument.
Well, I mean, we're kind of getting off track, to be honest. back to Israel. I I I think that the issue with Palestinians has been their ability to elect leaders. I do think they have put people in power who have not had the best interest for the Palestinians. I mean, we haven't seen a single Palestinian leader who's really made an effort to establish peace with Israel.
Yasser Arafat.
Yasser Arafat, when he based in the
Yasser
60s, when
Arafat,
he
yeah.
Okay, so basically in the
Who
60s for
offered the
around
two-state solution that was viable under international law, and Israel denied it.
yeah, but for 40 years he said no peace, no recognition, no negotiation.
And then he
correct?
offered a peace treaty. Noah.
Yeah, and then continued
So are you
to
ignoring
launch
that part?
and the second Intifada. But okay.
Well, Noah, so you said that there was never a leader that offered genuine peace between the two. The offer that Yasser
Yes.
Arafat made was genuine peace between Israel and God and Palestine. Do you deny that?
Which offer are you referring to? Because I think if Yasser Arafat wanted peace, he would have accepted the Camp David summit.
Well, he made an offer under the Camp David summit. Israel denied it. The offer that he made under the Camp David the offer that he made under the Camp David Accords, right, or the Camp David summit, was the one in line with international law, and Israel's was in violation of international law. But regardless, he made an offer that was genuine peace and recognition two-state solution. So, do you deny that he did that?
So do you know the thing he wanted? The right to return.
Which specific? He made a series of claims.
Well,
He wanted specifically return to the pre-1967 borders, right? He wanted a maintenance of the PA's military. He wanted East Jerusalem, if I remember properly, which he was entitled to following the 1967 borders. What specific claim are you making?
Well, what he wanted mainly, the biggest issue was the right to return.
Yeah, which is an international right that he has.
Yeah. So once again, if you just go by like international law, the Palestinian side it's like, how could you be pro-Israeli? But I mean,
yes.
There's so
Wait, is there a need for a more conversation? If
Yeah.
international law looks really good for one organization, then
because
not helping your point, brother.
But let me explain why.
If you go by international law, the Bosniaks look really good.
It's like, oh, Yasser Arafat all of a sudden starts to follow international law, but he's had 40 years of basically saying that he will never negotiate with Israel, continue to launch terrorist uprisings, and not recognize them. And it's like one day he decides, oh, I'm peaceful. Oh, Israel, you're
No, it just means that the claim that you made was wrong.
Well, they just don't have, unfortunately, like, they don't have a reputable history. Like, Israel...
It just means the thing that you said was incorrect.
What did I say was incorrect?
You said that there was never a leader that offered peace between the two.
Yeah, I don't think he wanted peace. I think if he wanted
But he
peace,
offered it.
No, but he knew very well that Israel. Okay. Do you know how negotiation works? Two sides have to compromise. A compromise is not Yasser
He
Arafat
made a compromise. It was literally termed the Great Compromise.
jeopardizing the Jewish state, because we all
It
know
also jeopardized the PA's validity. You understand that, right?
we all know what the right to return does. It makes it a Muslim majority, and that's clear that Israel doesn't want that.
Noah. First of all, it just means the thing that you said was incorrect. Just quite simply. What you said was that no leader of the Palestinians offered genuine peace between the two. That is incorrect. The offer made by Yasser Arafat...
He did not offer genuine peace. He offered peace. He did not offer genuine peace. He offered peace. So I'll give it to you. I'll concede to that. If you want to say by just the word peace, sure. Technically, I mean,
You
I don't
think it was
believe
genuine?
I mean,
What was disingenuous about it?
what was disingenuous? Well, months after. So we have once again 40 years of just explicit, no recognition of the state. Number one, we have in the 80s a terrorist uprising, and then following the Camp David summit when they couldn't come to an agreement, another 5-year terrorist uprising. And like after that, it was like, you know what, like they even tried again by pulling out of Gaza.
You think that a history of terrorism and violation of international law leads to any offers being disingenuous?
You're saying the Palestinians violated international law, correct?
I'm just asking you a general question. Is that your argument? That a history of violation of international law and terrorism under a given state means that any offer that they make is disingenuous?
Disingenuous. If I was a leader, I wouldn't trust them. I'm sorry. Like,
okay.
You're
And
not.
by that reasoning, very clearly, the Israelis, who have a strong history of terrorism, once again, the IDF is formed by a combination of three Zionist terrorist organizations, and self-admittedly is in violation of international law following 1948 and at least until 1967. By your argument, Israel's offers would also be disingenuous.
Ben Gurion sanctioned most of those like terrorists like before, like as the IDF was starting, like Leahy members, Ergun, and all those.
Of which it was still composed, yeah.
Well, no, he jailed a lot of them actually, and
So again, it was still composed of them. There is no IDF without those three organizations.
I mean, it's the same thing. It's like what country has a beautiful history? I mean, like, why do we hold Israel?
Once again, you've condemned the Palestinians for their history.
Yes, I condemn it.
And yet you literally said, right, we can't trust anything the Palestinians ever say or do because of their history. But now the second that we point that in Israel's direction, well, not everyone's perfect. Nobody's perfect, everyone.
Condemn like America for slavery, of course, but I support America fully.
But it's a relevant part of their history, and we have to talk about the moral implications of it, just in the same way that we would talk about the moral implications of Palestinian history.
Yes. Okay. So American slavery.
So you can't just scoff off Israeli history when you really hyperfixate on Palestinian history. It's disingenuous.
I don't deny that though. There were terrorist Jewish groups that.
But you scoffed it off.
No, I didn't.
You said, okay, everyone has a terrible history.
No,
I said it's relevant when you make a point regarding Palestinian history.
Ben Gurion attempted to jail some, and we know the IDF is not what like those groups were that were just bombing people and massacring. Like you even know, like you're smart and rational.
What I'm saying is that there's a long history of terrorism by the IDF, even following the formation of it, and there is a self-imposed and self-recognized violation of international law by the IDF and enforced by the IDF. We know that. You've admitted it. And Israel doesn't even consider itself to be in compliance with the international law, right? And no reasonable person with two eyes would be able to look at it and say they are either. They're just justifying it.
I don't know why we hold it.
Just as the Palestinians justified their violence, but it means that your logic applies equally. If you believe that a long history of violating international law and of terroristic violence stops any of your offers from being genuine, then Israel also never genuinely offered peace.
I don't know how you hold Israel to some crazy standard. I mean,
the crazy standard is the standard you created. It's literally the same. I literally repeated your argument and applied it to Israel. It was the same standard. I literally repeated your argument. You said, yes, that's my argument. And then I applied it to Israel. What?
Wait, can you repeat it?
I made sure that you heard what I said. I made sure that you heard the argument I made. I asked you if a long history of terroristic violence and violation of international law meant that any offers they made were disingenuous. And you said, yeah, that's what I'm saying about Palestine. And I said, well, by that logic, by that standard, Israel's also is disingenuous. It is literally the standard that you said.
Yeah, that's true, but I do think that...
So what's the crazy standard other than the thing that you said?
Well, the fact that the terrorism ended versus, like, the Palestinian never...
The terrorism did not end. The terrorism did not end.
Whereas, like, the Palestinians were, like, their leaders were verbally saying, like, they never want peace, whereas, like, the Israelis were making actions, like, they were giving back...
Netanyahu, within the past month, said that a two-state solution was never an option.
When did we ever start talking about Netanyahu? Okay.
What I'm saying is that it was so. What I'm saying is that the Israeli leaders also have said on multiple occasions, right, that either peace is impossible, right, or the conditions for peace are effectively continued violation. So when Israel only ever offers continuous violations of the Palestinians' rights, that's not peace, right? That's just them accepting what they want to win.
I don't think the current Israeli government wants peace. I never said that.
Then the terrorism never ended.
So you don't think the Israeli terrorism never ended?
Yeah, the Israeli terrorism never ended.
I cannot think of an example post-1948 where unprovokingly the IDF just went in and just slaughtered people indiscriminately.
That's not the definition of terrorism.
That's what I view as terrorism. I don't think
you view it incorrectly. That's just not what terrorism, the word, means. Do you want me to read off the definition?
You view what's happening in Gaza right now terrorism.
Yes. the unlawful use of violence and intimidation, especially against civilians in pursuit of political aims.
Yeah, I think that's very irrational. I mean, we all
You
know
think
like
that definition's irrational, or do you think my application of the
they've
definition's
given out
irrational?
like 7 million leaflets. They've making 100 million phone calls. Like, did you know they're trying to minimize the casualties? Anyone knows this. Any rational human knows this. You're lying to yourself. But like, besides that, like, it's obviously not terrorism. Like, once again, any rational human knows this.
Once again, apply my definition and tell me how it's not unlawful, or tell me how it's not violence or intimidation, or tell me how it's not against civilians, or tell me how it's not in pursuit of political aims.
Likes to hide within their civilians.
What?
Okay, is it a war crime to hide your civilians? Like,
I don't
yeah,
doubt that
so,
Hamas is a terrorist group. You're trying to
Great.
defend that the IDF isn't terrorist.
They're not. They're
Explain to me how
fighting
what the
terrorist
IDF
group.
is doing is, number one, not lawful, number two, not violence and intimidation, number three, not against civilians, or number four, not in pursuit of political aims.
Well, first off, we have to establish that H group, every time they embed themselves in a civilian area, that's a war crime. So
Well, I don't doubt that it's a war crime,
numbers
but are any of those four things untrue of what the IDF's
So what
doing?
is okay? If there is a full
Answer,
military
Noah. It is late, and I'm liable to just be annoyed. Can you just answer my question, directly?
Okay, ask it.
I asked it twice. Did you not hear me?
I'm tired, bro. I haven't slept in 2 days.
Okay. Can you tell me what the IDF is doing is, number one, not unlawful, number two, not violence or intimidation, number three, not against civilians, or number four, not in pursuit of political aims, as those are the four elements of terrorism as defined by Oxford Languages.
Okay. I don't think they're trying to intimidate civilians. I mean,
Is it violence?
I think they have one objective. Yeah, of course it's violence. What the fuck do you want them to
Okay,
do?
so it's violence. Is it against civilians?
Dude, no. I do not think
There's
they're
no
targeting
violence against civilians?
Well, like, once again, if H group decides to embed themselves within civilians, civilians are going to die, and that's on
But
H
they
group.
are still committing violence knowingly against civilians, faulty or not.
Once again, Nick, you have to remove all the context. Like, sure, yes, they're killing civilians.
Okay, so it's
but,
against
like,
civilians. Is it in pursuit of political aims?
It's not against civilians, though. It's
Well,
not
it is.
against-
If a civilian dies, it's violence against civilians.
So okay, so wait. Let me hear this straight. So if H group chucked a civilian into an Israeli bomb once, that considers their entire military operation to be a terrorist attack, correct? According to your definition.
No, it would just mean that bomb might be considered it.
Okay, so like you're irrational.
I'm just applying the definition as it reads.
I don't care where that definition's from. It's stupid because
Okay,
once again,
then can you give me a better definition
terrorism to
other
me
than
is
from
a
Oxford Languages?
I don't care about Oxford Languages. I'll use my own
So
definition.
give me a
Terrorism when you're
definition.
purposely. Yeah, I'll give you my definition.
And no, I don't
Targeting
want your
civilians.
definition. I don't want your definition. I want a definition, right, by like either someone who can actually tell me what the English language considers it, or a respected prosecution service. We can use the Crown Prosecution Service of the UK that sets it out in slightly more legal terms if you'd like, but I don't care what your definition is. This isn't you creating a language, right? We're having a discussion about what terrorism means. So can you give me a definition other than the Oxford Languages that you agree with?
According to your definition, Israel's
No, it's not my definition. If you're going to deny my definition, I need a better one.
Let me find one. Bro. I mean, that's a stupid definition. Yeah, sure. Israel's terrorists, if that's your definition. That they
Yes,
kill
it is.
civilians? Yes, they kill civilians.
Wonderful.
Like, sometimes. That doesn't make them terrorists.
Right, that definition does.
So if one IDF soldier...
Well, I just like to admit this is a moot point until you can say that you have a better definition, because you've admitted that the plain text reading of that definition is, correct on my side. Slay. Okie dokie, my loves. I am probably going to get off within the next 5 minutes. But if you don't follow me already, please do follow me. If you don't follow my YouTube, please do go hop over on the link in my bio and follow my YouTube. That would be really lovely. We just hit 1.3k on YouTube. That's really cool. That's really slay to hear. And thank you so much for the gifts. Thank you so much for the follows if you don't follow me on follow me on here already, it'd be cool that you do. Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, I'm Mustafa. That is Mikey, isn't it? I'm pretty sure. Hello, Noah. You back?
Only thing I can see is Oxford Dictionary. It's like I just okay. If that's what terrorism is, then sure. Then we need to think of a different word, in my opinion, because I think terrorism is in cause harm and terror. Like that's what I think of terrorism. Like so, sure. According to the Oxford Dictionary, like that's a fine point. But then I don't think terrorism is as bad as you think it is, because like I don't think that's what I thought was terrorism. I mean, civilians dying in a war is terrorism? Like no. I mean, according to that definition, yeah. So then we just like I don't know. I think it's just a bad definition. So
Okay.
I don't know what I would say. Yeah, then sure, they're committing terrorism, but it's not that bad because, I mean, they're not targeting civilians. We all know this. Like, if that was their goal, like, we all know what would happen. And it's like, people are still think that, like,
well, let me just add one really simple response to that. The idea that maybe they are acting knowing that they're being filmed. When you say,
Okay.
if that was their goal, we know what would happen, it completely ignores the idea that they know that they are going to have to defend themselves in court. They know that they are going to have to justify it to Europeans who famously kind of care about human rights just a little bit. They know that they're going to have to defend it to the civilians. So when they are trying to do something, when they are trying to complete this political end, they're trying to do it in the way that will cause the least amount of public recourse, right? But the most amount of efficiency. So that's the balance that you're saying. They're not just going to unilaterally, right, unequivocally and unapologetically unalive all the civilians. You can understand that. Like, put yourself in the mind of a genocidal government that had an interest in committing genocide while maintaining political support of their people. That's not what they would do. In fact, it would look a lot like dropping pamphlets that have QR codes on them that the civilians can't use. It would look a lot like consistently evacuating more and more, so you can say that they evacuated, but evacuating them to a place where there isn't food, water, and shelter for them. So it would look like providing solutions that actually act as maybe good excuses, but in fact don't save that many lives. That's what it would really look like. And if we start applying that to what Israel's doing in Gaza, it looks pretty similar. Is if I think about what a genocidal government would do to maintain public support while getting away with their actions, it kind of looks like that.
Okay, that's fair. I just think that's a bit of a speculation because I don't think there's any like proof that indicates that that's like the IDF's intention. I mean, you could like take those random quotes out of context, like that like a few people said that sound like genocidal, and like I've seen those. I'm like sure, but that we know that doesn't represent the whole organization. I think that. I think the burden of proof is on you to like provide a source or something that like says the government and the entire army's goal is to kill civilians.
It doesn't have to be the entire army. Actually, this is why I love that the ICJ trial is going down. What you need to prove is pretty simple. That number one, the institution, right, those leading the institution, have said things with genocidal intent. Number two, that the actors of that institution, the soldiers, the footmen, the people controlling the missiles, have understood that genocidal intent. And number three, that they have acted upon that genocidal intent. Okay? Even one instance of that, so let's just be very clear, even one instance of those three things being together would mean that the mens rea element has been completed. You need to connect original genocidal intent to understood genocidal intent to acting upon it, right? For the intent to matter. But even one instance where you can successfully do that, right, at the very least, that soldier and that person committed genocide. As long as all of those intentions were genuine. So it's not this actual huge ordeal that you need to prove every single individual in any given organization would be, indicted. You just need to prove, right, that this person would be. Because who do we put on trial? We put people on trial, by and large. And I guess in the case of ICJ, you put nations and their leaders on trial and their government. And what is a government if not just a set of representatives? So if there is a person speaking for that government like a prime minister would, and then their intention is understood to cause genocide, and then it does, then that state can be liable. You're setting out this goal as if it's fundamentally impossible. We've seen how it works, and it does. We saw it in Bosnia, we saw it in Rwanda. They've been prosecuted for genocide, and they didn't have to look at every single statement of every single person. They just have to look at a few statements of a few people, and then how that was understood by the footmen.
Okay, I mean, I think we just disagree.
We
I
seem
don't
to.
know. Wait, are you trying to say that Israel's like super involved in the Rwandan genocide?
No, what I was saying is that we can see, right, with Rwanda, with Bosnia, if you know anything about those proceedings, we saw a similar type of argumentation.
Well, Rwanda has absolutely no similarities to this.
I mean, it does in that it's a genocide, and that they currently have genocide, and they had genocide proceedings against them.
You even know what
That's
happened
the only
in
relevant. That's the only relevant comparison that I made.
You even know what happened in Rwanda, bro? Like,
Yes.
what was it? The Houthis and the Sutis, or I'm kind of slow right now. But two tribes disagreed, and one tribe went and just killed every person they saw. Like, that's not the same thing, bro. And I know you don't think that. You're just saying that to like, so you're suck up followers.
Well, I'm talking about specifically the legal case against them.
Yeah, I don't think that's fair that they're being held accountable for genocide in court. Like, I don't think they would be genociding them if Hamas didn't choose to attack. Like, it's the same shit every time. They're just
if you're saying that they
overly
deserve
scrutinized.
genocide, that's a totally different argument. But I don't think
they
you
deserve-
understood
nobody
my point
deserves-
regarding Rwanda or Bosnia. You know what happened in Bosnia?
Not as much as Rwanda.
Okay. My point was just generally that there have been court cases that have been argued like this, and that you misrepresented the elements of the crime.
Yeah, I don't see an equivalence, and that's why I'm not going to use
I
the
didn't
word
make an
genocide.
equivalence. I used it as an explanation.
Well, like, let's think of genocides that have taken place in history. Cambodia, World War II,
Bosnia,
Rwanda,
for example.
Bosnia. Like, I don't see any similarities between what's happening right now. I mean,
Bosnia has had a lower death count, so.
Okay, I'm referring to like the mass destructive ones, like what happened in
You
Cambodia.
don't think, but like the thing is like, as I said, this is why you're misrepresenting it. You view genocide in an incorrect way.
Okay,
genocide is an act specifically of a state or a state actor, right? That is targeting and is like, it's very simple. There is no.
Are the Houthis?
There isn't
Houthis
a scale. There isn't a. You must be this. You must be this dead to ride, right? There isn't a scale of this. It's a. There's no requirement that it's all of them. There's no requirement that it's millions. There's no requirement that it's hundreds of thousands. The requirement is the intent and the act, right? And if we don't understand the definition of it, I'm happy to read it off to you. But the idea that it has to be mass, the idea that it has to fit your vibes of what genocide is, right, is not true.
Okay, so I'm sure you have like another live about like the Houthi genocide in Yemen, right?
What's your point regarding the Houthis?
Well, are they committing a genocide right now? They've killed like 200,000 people in Yemen. I think that's pretty genocidal.
Against whom? What specific other tribe?
Is it Sunnis, Saudis? But they've also killed like 100,000 civilians. So I think that's genocidal. Is it justified if they're in
So when you're unable to engage with the argument at hand, you just move to a different situation that's entirely irrelevant to the point. Can you tell me why that was relevant to the point that was actually being made?
I don't think you care about Palestinians. I don't think you care about.
But was my point, Noah, that I cared about Palestinians? Was that the point that I was making?
No, but it's just like the
okay.
same
So can you then tell me, Noah, why what you said was relevant to the point that I was making?
It's just an observation I've made that.
Okay, I don't want to hear your observations if they're not relevant, because that is a whataboutism. When you lose an argument, right? When you lose an argument, you misdirect to another point. We can discuss applying the definition of genocide to the Houthis. I have no issue having that discussion. But Noah, first of all, you're not able to name the group of people you accuse them of genociding, right? What is the characteristic that you're doing? You're not even able to make the argument that you want to misdirect to, first of all. But even if you were, it wouldn't mean that it's a good argument. Okay? It's just not relevant. That's not the point that being made. It's an utter pivot, right? And I know why you did it, and it's quite disgusting. We're discussing something quite serious, and to engage in disingenuous argument is just not productive.
Well, I'm still waiting for you to provide me some like evidence that proves that they're committing a genocide. I don't.
I mean, I have.
No, you haven't.
I pointed you specifically, right, to try and flesh out what they did. And I've discussed it on this live before. I think the intent behind denying Red Cross access, the statement, right, that there were no innocents in Gaza by the defense minister, right, the suggestion that nukes were a possibility within Gaza, the statements characterizing them as the children of night, the references to I believe it was the Amorites that were genocided by the Israelites, by Netanyahu. That reference alone is referencing a genocidal story within the book of within the Old Testament. I don't remember which one it was. It was J something. That Amalekites. Sorry. So we could go through a series of things that you referenced, Noah, yourself, which are these alone statements that have been made by tenants of it, by ministers of Israel, and then as South Africa did quite well, they bring out specific cases of soldiers understanding what they meant and acting upon it. And that's what you need. So if you want the really well put together legal case, right, you can look at what South Africa has produced. You've provided absolutely nothing of value other than misrepresenting and misquoting to me the elements of genocide, right, which I don't even know that you could properly quote or cite.
Yeah, when I think of genocide, I compare it to genocides that have taken place throughout history. And when I see no similarities, I don't call this a genocide. I think we fundamentally...
That's not a terribly good way to do law.
Yeah, I mean, once again, looking at genocides throughout history, comparing it to what's happening right now, I can't see any similarities. So until I can, I'm not going to call it a genocide. And for some reason, you are.
So would you, if they fall under, for example, the genocide conventions that Israel is a signatory of, would you consider it a genocide?
What are those conditions?
Does it matter?
Well, it does to me, because...
Why? If Israel is willing to call something a genocide, if it falls under these conditions, right, is that enough to reference them as committing a genocide if it falls under those
conditions? I'm not Israel. I want to know the conditions, and I'll tell you if I think it's a genocide.
You don't know the conditions under the Genocide Convention?
I don't know the exact conditions now.
Okay. Let's pull up the direct ones. In general, right?
I don't know. I kind of want to hear another dude like have a debate with you. I don't know. This is just we just disagree. I don't know. I've debated you a bunch of times, and like we just I don't know. We end up starting talking about racism in America. So that's what happened last time, at least.
You're free to leave. The definition, just for everyone else that is interested in engaging. In present convention, genocide means any of the following acts committed with the intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group, such as killing members of the group, causing serious bodily harm, deliberately inflicting bad conditions of life, imposing measures intended to prevent births, forcibly transferring children. Okay, my loves. I'm gonna go to bed. What I will say is you're very cool. The vast majority of you, very cool people. I don't know what you hear right now. Let's see what you hear. Oh wait, I don't know what you hear right now. Anyway, so basically, thank you so much for all your support. Thank you so much for all the gifts. Thank you so much for everyone existing and living. Do we want to do a little raid with this? It's the co-host, Mazda. Okay, let's do a little Let's do a little raid. I think Mazen's live, yeah? Who are co-hosting creators right now that are live? Is Wizard Basan live? Basan is live. Okay. So thank you so much for everyone existing. If you don't follow me already, please do follow me. If you don't follow my YouTube, please do go follow my YouTube. If you aren't part of my Discord, please do that. Thank you so much. She just logged off. Okay, what's another live that we could do? Okay, what's another live that we could do? Is Mazen live? Is Mazen live? The general? The general? Okay. Is the general good? Is the general good? Like, is he a cool guy? Yeah? Okay. Then let's do that. If we can all spam the general's, you know, if we can spam the general's at, that'd be great. And then we can... What is the general's at? Can we spam the general's at? And then all go to that. What is this? Okay. The Gazan general. Look up the Gazan general. And go do a little raid. Go over there. Go over to the Gazan general and do a little raid. Is Kim better? This sucks because I don't like... Okay. Well, if y'all are saying Kim, I'll do Kim. Let's see. Kim tight. Go to one of those two. I don't really care. Okay. Go to either Kim tight or the Gazan general. Don't really care. Go like it up. Go support that ish. And just spam one or the other. I don't really care. So yeah. Cool. I want this to go down to 0. I want you all to leave. I want you to go to one of those two. So either leave or go to one of those two. Understood? I want to see this number decrease. Cool? Can we see it drop? Bye. 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 Go to the Gazan General or Kim Tai. Go to the Gazan General or Kim Tai. Look those two up. Spam the at. And, yeah. Bye. This number still isn't dropping. I can't try as hard as I can. Please go support them. Please go support them. That'd be great. Okay, I'm just going to end the live. That's unfortunate. But go to Kim Tai or Gazan General. Okay? Great. All right. Love you all. Bye-bye.